Because here's the thing, Halloween is a super famous holiday. If you're a serious Christian, why wouldn't you think seriously about Halloween when it's such a big holiday? Like, wouldn't that include a major holiday if you're going to think deeply about your faith in every area of your life? Wouldn't that include Halloween, or is Halloween just the exception? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Andrew Orman Show. How are you? You doing good? Well, if you ain't doing good, it probably ain't gonna get better today if you're listening to this on Monday, because it's just gonna get scarier and scarier today. Was that a good transition? That probably wasn't the best transition into the holiday, but yes, it is Halloween today, which you know exactly what we're gonna be talking about. I know I can already feel the tension in the air. People are already uptight because you read the title right. Should a Christian celebrate Halloween? Oh snap. Controversial question, but before we answer it, are you coming? Coming to what, Andrew, you might say? Let me get my news reporter. November 12th, Question It in Dallas. You can't miss it. In fact, if you do miss it, well, I guess you missed it. But I don't want you to miss it, because any question, any topic, if you want to learn to defend your faith, share your faith, you're going to love this event, because my favorite part is the live questions. That's right. I take in live questions. I have no idea what people are going to ask. And the cool part is I only have 3 minutes to answer the question, which means we're all on our toes to see if I give a rational defense for the Christian faith, depending on what question is being asked. It's going to be really interesting, but I don't want you to miss it at all. So, that being said, go to ccgeneration/questionitevent.com. That's ccgeneration for countercurrent generation /questionit.com. Well, folks, today it's Halloween. What in the world are we going to do? Should Christians celebrate Halloween? Should they not? I mean, this is like a good old discussion, isn't it? It's like, oh, here we go again. Of course, Andrew was going to do a topic about this because everybody's got an opinion, apparently. It's a topic of great discussion. And it's an interesting one because, to be honest with you, I did not think about doing an episode on Halloween. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't actually be thoughtful about the holiday and see if we should partake in it or not. I mean, I had a couple parents. One parent came and asked me, "Hey, would you talk to the youth about Halloween?" And I said, might as well just make an episode about it. And then we had someone else mention, "Hey, you, since you're young, maybe your young perspective might get, more listens than an older, close-minded parent out there." And that was air quotes, by the way, if you're just listening on audio. I'm not calling parents close-minded. I said air quotes, close-minded. Because here's the thing, Halloween is a super famous holiday. If you're a serious Christian, why wouldn't you think seriously about Halloween when it's such a big holiday? Like, wouldn't that include a major holiday if you're going to think deeply about your faith in every area of your life? Wouldn't that include Halloween, or is Halloween just the exception of you thinking, man, I'll think about everything, but Halloween is just Halloween. Let's just kind of leave it alone, because maybe you fall into one of two different buckets. One side says, it's kind of what your aunt on Facebook, as the joke goes, might be posting on Instagram and those social media platforms, just denouncing anything. I mean, I'm talking about any hint, smell, anything of Halloween, right? That a 5-year-old girl dressed as a princess saying "twinkle-twee." That, I mean, you might as well be a Satanist, my friend, because that is a Satanist holiday. That might be the devil's birthday for all we know. And you might be knowing exactly what I'm talking about, posting things like real Christians don't celebrate Halloween. And if you celebrate Halloween, I mean, for all, your salvation might just be on the line. Then there's like a second bucket. The second bucket is the total other kind of side and this might be some of you today just listening. You're like, honestly, I don't see anything wrong with Halloween. Like, what's the big deal? It's just a celebration. It's just a cool holiday to dress up as your favorite hero or favorite villain. And it's only the quote unquote Christian Karens out there that make a big deal out of this. So who cares if I want to go out with my friends and get some candy, or if I want to go to my school Halloween party. In fact, all my friends celebrate Halloween. So why would I say no to going to a Halloween party? I mean, it's just like my boring parents that don't want me to go. Well, whichever opinion you might have, bucket one, bucket two, or anywhere in between, I think that you're going to enjoy this episode because we're going to take a more of a thoughtful approach to see the different sides of Halloween, the different kind of arguments, if you will, and see, okay, does this make sense? Does it not make sense? Are we exaggerating? Are we not exaggerating? And then try to answer the question, should a Christian really celebrate Halloween? The first things to know, and we're just going to say this from the very beginning. Hey, if you're a Christian and you kind of get upset about kind of the Halloween situation, we have to know it's not a gospel issue. We're not talking about people's salvation here. It's not like, quote, real Christians don't celebrate Halloween. And if you take your daughter go trick-or-treating, then you must not be a real Christian. I think we know that's not true, right? That's not gospel. It's not a gospel issue. But just because it's not a gospel issue, that doesn't mean that it's not an important issue. Because notice the question of the episode. It's not, can you celebrate it? Sure, you're able to celebrate it and nothing's stopping you from doing it. There's nothing written in the Bible, thou shalt not celebrate Halloween. No, it's not there. But the question is really, should you though? Just because you can doesn't mean you ought to do it, right? That's something that we confuse in our culture a lot of times. The ability to do something, then that somehow equates to actually needing to do something or that you should do something. Just because you can doesn't mean you actually should do it. So let's kind of take a look at the different sides of this conversation because I want to think biblically about this. One of the great helps to kind of forming my thoughts on this episode was Mike, I think is it Wigner? Yeah, it's Mike Wigner on YouTube. Just fantastic pastor. That guy has invested so many hours and hours and hours into every topic that you can think about too. How do you think biblically? So he has a great episode, way longer than mine will be, on this topic of Halloween. So if you want to kind of dive deeper into it, you're more than welcome to check out his stuff. I'll actually put a link to the video on the description below or on the show notes if you're listening on podcast. But I think there's a great way of kind of looking and approaching this perspective from kind of looking at the different sides, if you will. Because there's one side, as we saw, that looks at, oh, there are no real Christians that celebrate it. But then there's another side that says, well, there's nothing to it. Like, it feels okay. I think it's just people will make a big deal out of it. But what's the big deal, right? Because the idea that we're sold about Halloween, whenever someone wants to say it's not a big deal, is they usually show the example of the little girl dressed as a princess, right? Or the little 5-year-old dressed as a bumblebee or as a vegetable or VeggieTales for all we know. And they go, is this really demonic? Like, is this really dark? Like, this is somehow connected to some spiritual dark origin of this holiday? Like, really? And two things can be true at once. Okay, if that's the context of Halloween, yeah, you're right. Like, what's kind of the big deal of a little girl? Maybe it's a suburb neighborhood, literally like nobody's dressed as a witch or nothing like that. And they just have, some pumpkins there. It's basically like a fall festival, right? And you just ask for candy. That's great. But are you really a 3-year-old girl dressed as a princess? Because, my man, you probably 20 dressed as Michael Myers. Like, that is not the same thing, homie. Like, you cannot use an argument and say, well, Halloween, you're really saying that Halloween is bad. Well, what about the 5-year-old little boy? Dude, that ain't you, though. Most likely, that is not you. Because we have to understand, Halloween is pretty obvious about what it is. Like, it's not like Halloween is a celebration about, I don't know, butterflies. And people are out here, like, saying it's demonic because butterflies are somehow connected to demonology. No, I think Halloween basically tells you what it's about. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that some of the most demonic and scariest movies come out when? On Halloween, like literally with the title Halloween. Because the whole concept, the whole idea of Halloween is darkness. It's to instill fear. Like, can we agree on that? Like, maybe you're like, dude, but I like that. Okay, well, we're going to get to that. But can we just agree that Halloween is pretty strictly and obviously about scary horror? We're going to get to grotesque, morbid ideas. That's why people on Halloween, someone might not just walk around as Michael Myers or Fred Krueger or whatever other villain out there. And by villain, I mean like mass murderer and person who's just sadika. Right? So it's like sadistic character. If you're locking up on June 10th like that, I mean, something's wrong with you, bro, because that's not a cool person. Oh, it's Halloween? No problem. Oh, it's a 12-year-old dressed as Jason from Friday the 13th. Oh, that's so cute. Do we know who Jason Friday the 13th is? Like, is that really someone that we want to like pretend to be? Do you kind of like understand where I'm going with this? There is an obviously dark side of Halloween that cannot be ignored. So you're right. If we're talking about the kind of the little kids dressed as Minecraft and you want to get some candy and maybe you don't want to say trick or treat because that's kind of a weird thing. Like, if you don't give me a treat, I'm going to trick you with some kind of curse. That's not what kids are actually doing, right? I don't know one of those kids that actually is involved in black magic, right? So I don't see a huge deal with that. Me personally, maybe you do, and that's totally fine. You're entitled to your opinion. I don't see a huge deal with that, but we can't pretend that somehow that's Halloween. That's a very small part of Halloween, my man. And I think we know that, right? Because the older one gets and the older one is when they celebrate Halloween, usually the darker one celebrates it. It's actually innocent when a little boy or little kid celebrates it because they're dressed as something innocent. But usually the older one becomes, the scarier the costumes are, the more sadistic the costumes are, the more provocative the costumes are for girls, the more darker it is. Like, we can't escape the fact. And that's one side of Halloween that cannot be ignored. We have to understand that Halloween is a dark holiday, like by design, basically. I mean, if you go back to the origins, it's a little mixed. At least that's, what Mike Wigner was talking about. It's a little mixed. It has a little bit of everything, of course. But one thing that we can't ignore is that for the world of the occult, for the Satanist, for all the world of witchcraft, Halloween is a holy day. Like, that's a fact. I mean, you can look it up of Christians who have come out of that world of the world of the occult, the world of sciences, or however you say it, the world of astrology and all this stuff. Like, Halloween was a day that they celebrated, and they believed that the veil that divided the physical and the spiritual world was pretty thin that day, and you could access it, and the two worlds could come together even more that day. So we can't ignore that there's a very, very, very dark side to Halloween. Like, we can't just say, oh, it's just about dressing up as a Minecraft character. I mean, maybe in your little neighborhood, but the whole idea of Halloween is not that. So now, I'm not equating that somehow all the Satanists doing something on Halloween is going to affect that little girl doing trick or treat. I mean, maybe, I don't know. But that's not even the line I'm drawing there. I'm just saying we can't ignore that there's a very dark side of Halloween. I mean, so if you're a young person right now and your parents are like, I don't want you to celebrate. No, we don't celebrate Halloween. But you're like, Mom, everybody at school celebrates Halloween. They're having a Halloween party today, right? Because it's Monday, it's Halloween. Why can't I go? Because I don't want you to go because es de los demonios. Es de los demonios. Y es pura oscuridad. You think, oh my gosh, Mom, you're crazy. Your mom's not crazy, okay? Because there's a huge part of Halloween that's explicitly dark. That's, in fact, what you're celebrating. I mean, here, can we just get more honest and more, I should say, more practical? Christians should not celebrate darkness, period. I think we would agree with that, right? If we were not even talking about Halloween, people would say, yes, oh, you're totally right. Halloween's different, though, because, you see, Halloween is really just a holiday. It's just a bit of fun, no big deal, you're overreacting. But if we weren't talking about Halloween, every Christian should say, yes, we should not celebrate darkness. And that was actually probably a connection to this episode would be the connection that can Christians watch horror movies? I think that would connect really well with this topic because Christians should not be celebrating darkness. And the essence of Halloween is truly about celebrating darkness, right? It's about how ugly, how fear-driven, how much fear can you instill with a certain costume, and usually the costumes are, like I said, of Fred Krueger, Michael Myers, Jason, of people who sadistically kill and torture people. Like, what? Of Chucky. Like, if you can't realize that there's just something wrong as someone dressing up as Chucky and thinking it's cool, I'm sorry, dude. Like, homie, I can't help you there because something's not right about that. We have to understand that look, evil is like very plain now. I mean, we're not talking about like, oh, Andrew, you're exaggerating. That's just a little monster from the lake that comes, like in the 1970 films, whatever, or probably not. I don't know my ages on films. So that's not it. I mean, explicitly now things are demonic. Explicitly things are darkly spiritual. And that's just like, it's like not even hiding. It's in plain sight. But for some reason, when it's Halloween, we make excuses to celebrate that. So I want to talk to you because maybe you're thinking, Andrew, but wait a minute. I agree with you. I don't like celebrating darkness. I don't like demonic stuff. I hate horror movies, but I just want to go to the party, man. That's all I want to do. I just want to go to a party. And here's what maybe un consejo, okay, maybe just some encouragement that I can give you is you have to understand the difference of things that are non-negotiables, that are not like based on your quote unquote conscience, and then things that are based more that are personal decisions based on your conscience. So something that's not based, I don't care about your conscience, is Christian celebrating darkness. So my opinion, I don't think that if you're going to go to a costume party, right? Because what's different about a costume party? Why would you dress up something that's dark and you're celebrating that darkness? Like, why would you put that image, right? It's like someone that wants to get a tattoo. I never understood this. And they're like, man, is it wrong to get tattoos? Well, what do you want to get a tattoo of? I want to get a tattoo of a skeleton with a knife on the heart of another skeleton. I'm like, what? Like, why would you get the image of death on you? Now, what I'm talking about right now, am I exaggerating? Am I overreacting? No, because again, hey, if you're a parent and on your conscious level, you're like, dude, look, Andrew, I don't feel bad dressing up as Minecraft with my kids and getting some candy. I agree with you. That's great. But let's be honest. So many times Halloween, what happens in Halloween is what's called a circus mentality, meaning a lot of people do things that they wouldn't usually do for the sake of it's Halloween, right? It's a certain event. So you go to a Halloween party and people are drinking, people are doing stuff, and you're thinking, well, I wouldn't usually dress up like a mass murderer, but it's Halloween, so it's totally cool. I don't think that's how our approach should be with any holiday, especially when there's a holiday that really excuses celebrating darkness. So there's a verse in Ephesians 5 that I think will kind of just help guide us a little bit. And hopefully it gives you guidance today. Because Halloween, look, I don't have a problem of getting some candy. But I also, myself, I don't want to participate as dressing up as something that promotes darkness, as kind of making lightly of something that is explicitly dark. But again, and I feel like I'm kind of repeating my kind of like, not cliches, but my caveats that I'm adding to it, because I want you to think about you. I don't care what event it is, but it should never be an excuse to promote or encourage or be okay with darkness. Oh, Andrew, you're just exaggerating. It matters what we are. It matters who we are, right? It's the same thing of images matter. Things that you wear matter, right? So costumes do matter. Maybe for you in your level of your conscious, you say, Andrew, I don't see anything wrong with dressing up as Chucky. I don't see anything wrong about this. Well, can I tell you something? Your conscience can become callous. If you've exposed yourself a lot to horror movies, you've exposed yourself to things that are spiritually dark, then kind of like playing the guitar where your fingers become callous and you stop feeling it, you're going to stop feeling your conscience. But just because your conscience then has become callous doesn't justify what your conscience can no longer feel. Like inherently, that's just not right. We should never celebrate darkness. So, should Christians celebrate Halloween? Well, my friend, me personally, I'd rather for me just go bye-bye. Hey, maybe what you can do is do something great. Use Halloween for the gospel. You can do the Night Delight or a fall festival. Man, those are all cool stuff. But I think we can all clearly draw a line when we say, am I celebrating darkness right now? Am I justifying as dressing up as someone that is not a good example whatsoever? Or am I dressing up provocative because that's just the outfit of Halloween, or whatever other excuse we can use? Because as Christians, yes, our behavior should be different. I'm not saying we should overreact and call everything demonic. I don't think that's an accurate way of doing it. But again, we shouldn't pretend that dressing up as Michael Myers is the same thing as a 3-year-old dressing up as a butterfly. Let's not confuse the two. So I'll let you answer the question. Should you celebrate Halloween today?